Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us for another incredibly tropical episode of Phil and the Mic. I, as always, am your host, Darren Michael, and with me, filling in once again, the man, the myth, the legend, Money Marc. Money Marc, what's going on there, my man?
Cheers, my brother. Cheers. We got a little Dewey Beer Company. I'm down in the undisclosed beach location today, enjoying my vacation, and really happy to be here with you.
Now, is it actually you're in an undisclosed location because you're actually part of the witness protection program? Is that what's going on here?
Well, one might think that, but it's undisclosed location because I'm not willing to disclose it. That's what makes it. The sun, you can see, is shining brightly here. I've got the palm trees behind me. Anyone that knows the Delaware, Maryland beaches knows there's no palm trees, so I think you can kind of figure out. You can put one and one together and get two, not three. So,
well, let's keep our fingers crossed there.
I need these sunglasses back on.
I wanted to start off, and I forgot to pull this up, but I had a joke for you, and I want you to tell me what you think of it. All right?
All right, let's hear it.
I told this to Trisha. She didn't really like it too much, but that's okay. So it's a wife and a husband. The wife says, look at that drunk guy over there. And the husband says, who is he? The wife says, 10 years back, he proposed to me and I rejected him. And the husband said, oh my God, he's still celebrating.
Dude, that's like one of those Rodney Dangerfield one-liners that we love so much. So good. So good.
So I was pretty excited about that. Right before the podcast started, I had looked every day. I get my mail. You see what's coming on that app, right? So I know what mail's coming in. Every day I'm rushing to see what kind of autographs I get. And it said I was supposed to get 3 envelopes today. And part of the fun is guessing who the envelopes are from.
Mm-hmm.
And I go out there. I only had 1 envelope, which really annoys me. Don't tease me like that and then only give me 1. But anyway, so the guy that I got is an ex-basketball player, played in the 70s, maybe a little bit in the 80s. His name is Junior Bridgman.
Okay.
And the interesting thing about this guy is that, he didn't make a ton of money when he played basketball, right, but he started investing. And actually, he owns over 100 Wendy's restaurants. That's awesome. And I think he also owns Ebony and Jet magazine.
No way.
The guy's net worth is $600 million.
Whoa, that's awesome.
So
that's awesome.
It's kind of a cool story. He's not the great. I mean, he was a decent basketball player, but it's just a great story of how somebody turns, goes on and has a second career. And he's this successful basketball player, and then he goes and he becomes this businessman. 100 times more successful than he was as a basketball player. And I don't think you hear things like that too often.
No, you don't. I mean, but I think they happen a lot. The press just doesn't cover it, right? I mean, I have friends that, played in the minor leagues and the major leagues, and they're very successful chiropractors or dentists, or, there's a lot of second careers after the NFL or Major League Baseball or whatever. But it's just not talked about. I think that would be a really interesting show, or series of shows, just to say, where are they now, right? Can't remember what channel used to do that. Remember that back in the day? It's like, where are they now? Like MTV, maybe?
Yeah.
Like something like that would be really cool.
Everybody always
likes a little segment on here about that.
Yeah, it's an interesting thought because when you think about it, I mean, it not so much nowadays because these guys are making so much money they really don't have to ever work again.
Right.
But the guys previously that weren't making all the money, or maybe guys that were maybe in the league for just a short amount of time, to see what they've done in a second career. But you've even got guys that just, you can't sit home and sit still. I mean, could you imagine you're done with your professional career at 35?
Yeah.
I mean, what are you going to do with yourself? You can't just sit on the beach like you are all day long every day.
I mean, look at the sun's out. It's beautiful out here. I got a nice cold one in my hand, it's beautiful.
I hear you, man. I hear you. So it is time for my favorite game, and that is, where the hell is Phil? We don't know. I actually did talk to him the other day. So
there's a Phil. You talked to Phil?
I do know that he's alive. So that is a good thing. I do know that he's alive. So we're going to play Where the Hell is Phil? And like we did in the last episode, you've got 5 guesses. Okay, so I'm going to give you 5 clues. Obviously, they get a little easier as you go on, although in this case, I don't think so. And we'll see if you can figure it out in 5 guesses as to where the hell he
Now,
is.
I have to ask 2 questions. We'll actually make one statement and ask a question.
Okay, all right.
First question
yes.
Is it only the United States that's in scope for this?
No, it's not.
So it can be anywhere in the world.
It can be anywhere in the world. Now,
my statement is I took an advanced world cartography course in between the last episode and this one.
Oh, you did.
So I'm ready. I'm ready.
Okay, good. You're ready. Now, the one thing is that I always like to say is that it's going to have some sort of relevance.
To what?
So
relevance to what?
Listen. It's not just like all of a sudden I'm going to say Phil is in the Easter Islands. Like, why would he be in the Easter Islands? You know, like there's nothing going on there. You know, I mean, he's seeing a bunch of statues. No. It's nothing like that. So it's got to have some kind of current relevance.
Relevance to current events, relevance to sports, relative
if you remember the last one,
Phoenix, right?
Phil was in Las Vegas. Officiating the J-Lo wedding.
Ah, okay. All right. I'm following you now. I got you.
So remember, the one thing with Phil is usually in between shows, he's always somewhere. He's always somewhere doing something. All right. So, number 1, although this nation is only 14,000 square miles, they have 23 million people, making it one of the most densely populated countries in the world.
Taiwan.
The man is on fire in the cartography classes.
Yes.
The man knows what's going on.
Dude, that $10,000 cartography course. Woo!
You gotta love it. As a matter of fact, Phil is in Taiwan right now. He's escorting Nancy Pelosi safely to Taiwan for meetings that are going to amount to jack and squat. So congratulations, Mr. Toretto. Good job, my friend.
I hope Phil has a shoulder-mounted RPG or some other type of defensive weapon, because I don't know how safe she's going to be in his presence. No offense, Phil.
Now let me ask you this: How did you come up with that?
I think, well, I actually do know a lot about geography, and when you said it's a relevant current event thing, I actually just read an article this morning about how Pelosi is going to Taiwan potentially tomorrow, and it's a huge deal for China.
She's in Taiwan.
She already is there?
She's already there.
Oh, I didn't know that. I thought the article I read says she might be going tomorrow, because it was not on the official itinerary. They did not have that on the official itinerary that was put out. So
that's what I just read, that she is there. That's what I just read.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah, hopefully it doesn't create any type of crisis, because it's totally pointless to go there, especially when you're not the president of the United States, and you know, it just makes 0.0 sense.
Well,
but
this
is not a political show. This is a sports show. So let's move forward.
Let's just pray that now Phil is also there to do some scouting for the Mets. Okay, let's be totally honest. But he's also there. He needed to catch a ride there, so he caught a ride as one of Nancy Pelosi's entourage.
Oh. Okay.
But he's doing some scouting. There's some good pitching over there. So anyway, right. I want to get into it. I want to get into it today. And I got a lot of great topics. First one is I want to talk a little baseball. And last weekend, not this weekend, weekend before, was the Hall of Fame induction ceremony. And, you've got good guys that went in, Tony Oliva, Jim Cott, Minnie Minoso, Gil Hodges, Buck O'Neill, obviously David Ortiz, and the great that nobody's ever heard of still, Bud Fowler. So my question to you is this, okay? Tony Oliva had to wait 42 years after he retired, all right? Jim Cott, 39 years. Minnie Minoso, 59 years. Gil Hodges, 59 years. Buck O'Neill, 67 years. And Bud Fowler had to wait 118 years. My man is really old at this point. The rule is that, you can't get elected until you've been retired for 5 years. And then the old rule was you have 15 years to stay on the ballot and then you fall off. Okay, now it's even 10 years that you get to stay on the ballot. So my question to you is, if it takes a guy, and the guy that got in with the minimum amount of years was 39 years, if it takes a guy at least 39 years to get in the Hall of Fame, Do you really think that he's a Hall of Famer?
Well, it all depends on what the competition is for. Like, because isn't there a limit to how many people can get in the Hall of Fame each year? Is there a limit to how many can go in?
Uh-uh.
There isn't. So I
It's
don't
all
know.
based
I
on
just feel
voting percentages.
okay. Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of very talented players that get overlooked. They're if they weren't very famous, but they had really good stats. They're not in the public eye. They're not somebody that ever like an everyday name. People don't really think of them. And I think to a degree, some of this Hall of Fame business is not just about the player and their stats and criteria, but it's clearly a subjective voting process. So
Yeah.
when anything's subjective, there definitely can be politics involved. So there could be some, family members and, this Bud Fowler or whoever, maybe there's some family members that have been like pushing on the Hall of Fame to like recognize this person. Who knows, right? You just
Yeah.
can't, you never get enough of a peek behind the curtain on all this stuff to know
Yeah.
how it actually works. And it's the sports writers that vote, right? So it's
Uh,
it's journalists basically that are
well,
voting.
well, with the main Hall of Fame, which is David Ortiz, it is, but the other one there's committees that there's like I think there's 16 people on the committee and 12 people have to
Okay.
get yes votes.
Yeah. So
So
to me, it's not about stats, right? Because if you were to set a stats bar, then whoever gets past that stat is in, right? So it's stats plus other, things that are subjective because that you're voting. You're saying yes or no. You're saying tell me your case and then yes or no. So I mean, I just think that the likelihood of them being a true Hall of Famer or Hall of Famer caliber after 39, 59, 69 years is very low,
yeah,
right?
that's
I mean,
that's the
yeah,
that's the issue that I have also, and
yeah,
I'm looking at this and granted, listen, over the past, how many years there's been a lot of new it seems like every year there's more stats. And now war is a big stats, women's above replacement, which I don't even understand. But
yeah.
everybody talks about this war thing, and I don't understand how you can be an average player, have a great war, and then you're in the Hall of Fame, but there are two guys that I wanted to point out. Gil Hodges is one. He was an 8-time All-Star. He won 3 World Series, 3 Gold Gloves, and he was the manager of the Miracle '69 Mets. So this is a guy that I think has been overlooked, I mean, forever. And then you
Right.
also look at another guy like Minnie Minoso, right? He played in the 40s, 50s, and 60s. But interesting thing is, he actually had one at bat in 1976 and then one at bat in 1980, making him the only guy to have at bats in 5 different decades.
That's wild.
It's pretty wild. But not only that, he was a 2-time Negro League All-Star. He was a 9-time Major League All-Star, 3-time Gold Glove, and he led the league in stolen bases 3 times. This guy, I mean,
What took so long?
that
What
and
took
that's
so
what
long?
I'm saying about some of these guys, like
Yeah.
Oliva, Cott, Bud Fowler. I mean, Bud Fowler, Buck O'Neill. I mean, these guys were decent ball players, not Hall of Famers in my
I
estimation. Where
just feel like there should be, I think the voting needs to go. I think it needs to be objective statistics criteria and then maybe one overlay of did they promote the game? Were they good for the game? Like maybe one little thing of that that's objective, but it should be stats. Like this whole like I'm Joe Schmo sports writer. I'm this committee member, and I can vote. 15 people. Like they didn't even live back then. How do they even know? They're just reading stuff. So I just feel like it's got to be more objective. And if there's no limit to how many can go in, you should put in as many as qualified, right? Like as soon as you retire, you got a bank of stats. If your stats are over this level, you should be in the Hall of Fame, and it shouldn't be this whole like debate and subjectivity and well, again, Minnie Minosa, perfect example. Why does that take so long? I mean, you just said the stats: 9-time All-Star, 2-time Negro League All-Star. Like, come on. I mean, it's obvious, right? But again, it's just a matter of what these committees should do is agree on the stats
yeah,
and then just put the stats to the player and just let them in.
it's an interesting theory. It's an interesting
That's
theory.
what
So, but you know what? It's interesting. But you know what? Something else is coming up that I wanted to stay on the Hall of Fame topic because I think this is really, really interesting. The 2023 Contemporary Baseball Era Hall of Fame. So what they do is they rotate different eras to get in the Hall of Fame. I think there's 4 different eras. And this one, the Contemporary Baseball, I want to say it's guys that played bulk of their career 1980 to present. And then I think you've got like 50s to 80s and then like pre 50s. And then I think you've got Negro League. So I think they just jump around, they rotate. And this one is really, really interesting to me because it's the last year for Bonds and Clemens on the ballot because they changed it to 10 years. This is their 10th year potentially. Actually, is that even right? No, it's not. They're done. They're done. So this is their first time, I'm sorry, on the committee ballot. So they're already past their 10 years, right? So you've got, I mean, think about the guys that we have here. We've got Bonds, Clemens, Schilling, Palmeiro, McGuire, Sosa. I mean, can you think of bigger names? I mean, these are huge, huge names in the sport. But unfortunately, they're all associated with the steroid era. So here's my question, right? A two-part question. One is, since Bud Selig is in the Hall of Fame already, and he was the guy that presided over the whole steroid era, do you think that guys should get in? And then B, who do you think will get in?
So the whole Bud Selig presided over the steroid era. I mean, it just depends on what he knew and what he didn't know, right? I mean, I think some people would say it'd be naive to say he didn't know any, or he didn't know anything, right? But that there's, when you take it into the regular realm, like a president of a company where there's hundreds of thousands of people or thousands of people in that company, they don't know what every employee is doing. So you can't like fault a president of a company for something the employees are doing that's bad. Now, if they're your top stars, you should have your eyes open to potentially ways that they're cheating the system or getting an advantage. And there is obviously, if you're not an ethical person, there is a motivation to kind of look the other way and not ask the questions that you should be thinking of. So that to me is very gray. The whole Bud Selig, that's a gray zone in my view. Like, I don't know what he knew or didn't know.
Yeah, but
I don't know how much he looked the other way.
What do you think he knew? What do you think he knew?
I have no idea, dude. I don't assume anything because, again, like I said, at a company, there's CEOs that preside over companies that are large, like the MLB is large, and their top performers. They're not going to think to say, "Are you cheating?" Because they're bringing revenue to the company, right? So these players are bringing revenue to Major League Baseball. He's not thinking, "Are they cheating?" Right? So, again, I don't know Bud Selig. I've never talked to him. I don't know if he's a dirtbag or if he's a good guy, right? So, and I'm not going to judge anybody until I have that conversation, right? Because I think people are too quick to judge. So I'm just going to say I don't know what he knew. But that aside, if there is a confirmation that players cheated, there's proof that they cheated, and that the rules outlined performance enhancing drugs are against the rules, then they absolutely should not be in the Hall of Fame. Because that's what I was talking about. It's stats plus an overlay of character, and are they good for the game? Are they role models? Like, if you're running the Major League Baseball, you want your stars to be role models and good people and good character people, and cheating to get ahead, that's not a good message to send to anybody, right? So anyone that there's proof, that cheated against the known rules should not get in the Hall of Fame. And if all of those guys you mentioned that there's proof, I say none of them get in. If there isn't any proof, all of them get in because they all have the stats. They all brought, they basically brought Major League Baseball back from kind of the brink. Like you said it last time, Sammy Sosa, Mark McGuire. I mean, those guys saved Major League Baseball and made it exciting.
They did. They did.
But if they were outlined rules and they were breaking them, then that's a problem. That's a big problem.
You know what? And another part to this conversation is, Bonds and Clemens were not found guilty of doing steroids.
Then they should be in.
There's a lot of speculation and there's a lot of guilt by association, but they technically were not found guilty.
Then
Sosa, Palmeiro, McGuire, these guys, yes, they took steroids.
Listen, whatever you think personally, we have a justice system in this country, and it is a trial of your peers. You are innocent until proven guilty. And if your lawyer didn't bring enough evidence to prove you guilty and you become out innocent, then you're innocent. I don't care what you think personally. I mean, Bonds' head is like 10 times the size of his body, when he was playing, and then all of a sudden he shrank up to nothing. I mean, you can look with your eyes. Your eyes don't lie. Your eyes can see what's going on.
Of course.
But that's not how the justice system works. And you have to trust the justice system. You have to, there's many ways the justice system isn't great. So we'll put that out there. But that aside, don't hate the player, hate the game, right? Like, this is the system. And if they're innocent, they should be put in the Hall of Fame. Why are you keeping them out? Because you think they did something, but they were found innocent. So that's unfair to them. So,
listen,
put yourself in their shoes.
And you
No, put
listen.
your stuff in their injectables, I guess, or pre.
You know what though? It's a slippery slope because the one thing I can say about baseball is baseball to me is a game of cheating. Everybody is trying to get ahead, whether it's trying to steal signs, or what you may not know is back in the 50s and 60s and even 70s, amphetamines were running rampant in baseball. Hank Aaron, Willie Mays, Mickey Mantle, these guys all took amphetamines, and
That's proven.
It's proven that they've been doing this. There's a lot of guys in the Hall of Fame that have done this. There's a lot of guys that have broken the rule. What about Gaylord Perry with his spitball? That's not legal. So there's a lot. It's the problem that I have with the Hall of Fame is you've got the voters that are, we're so holy. We're holier than thou. And they're not. These are not church people voting. Okay. This is not a bunch of priests and nuns. These are people that are setting the ethics standards on their own based on what? Based on how they feel. Again, like you said with the stats, there needs to be something. There needs to be something, and that's what bothers me. But anyway, enough of that.
But about what you're saying, real quick though, like,
yeah,
just because everybody was cheating doesn't mean that's okay, right? Like, none of those guys should be in. If they're all cheating and it's proven, they should not be in.
See,
you have a set of rules to abide by to keep the competition on an even playing field, right? And so if you don't want that rule, if you want spitballs, then make it legal. If you want, steroids, make it legal. You can easily do that. But if it's against the rule and you're breaking the rule, you should have consequences. That's just how life should work.
Yeah. I mean, listen, there could be a whole episode. I know Phil and I have talked about this before too. Let's just move on because
it's getting a little bright in here, so I have to put my sunglasses.
You gotta put your sunglasses back on. How's your beer?
Out here is what I meant to say.
Can we do the beer check?
We're gonna do the dark Terminator style. I am going to drink my beer right now.
All right, there we go. So let's move on a little bit. I love talking about money and just when I like when it doesn't work out. I got to be honest with you. The number 2 pick in the draft, Drew Jones, Andrew Jones' son. Okay, he gets signed to an $8 million signing bonus. Right, that's what he gets as being the number 2 pick. His first practice, not game, his first practice, he hurts his shoulder and he needs to get surgery.
We're talking about practice?
I mean, see, if you just didn't practice, your shoulder would be fine. But so I think that's one of those things. But I want to go back and I want to talk about a couple other contracts because you hear about nowadays these really long contracts, and in baseball they're all guaranteed. So you get 10 years, you get $300 million. Like, look at Mike Trout. Okay, arguably he is a first ballot Hall of Famer. The guy is fantastic. Bobby Bonilla is another one. But Mike Trout, what did he sign? He signed I think he's got 10 years left on his contract and like $350 million left on his contract, all guaranteed. And it turns out he's got costovertebral dysfunction. He's got some sort of degenerative back condition. I mean, you can't make this. So, as great as it is, wow, you lock this guy up for a long time, 35 million. By the time 5 years from now, guys are all going to be making 50 million. Wow, you got a great deal on this guy. But look what's happening. Then they also, I'm going to stick with the Angels for a second because they are just the best at this. Think about their Pujols signing. Where did they sign him for? 10 years, 250 million. And he was a shell of the person he was in St. Louis. And then you got Anthony Rendon. You signed him to a big contract. He's got 4 years and $144 million left. He's played for the Angels for 3 years. Hasn't had a full season. He's currently not playing. The guy's not healthy. So, I mean, what are your thoughts on these long-term deals and giving these guys, these unproven guys, these huge signing bonuses? I mean, there's so much uncertainty with this stuff. What are your thoughts on these long-term deals?
My thoughts are these agents are really, really good because they have talked these owners into doing stupid things.
Yeah.
And they've created the market. They've created this market of guaranteed money. So if you want to compete, if you're an owner and you want to compete to win a top player, and the Mets are giving them 8.9 million guaranteed for 10 years or for, per year for 10 years.
Yeah.
And I mean, again, it's just like, this is what they're going to pay. What are you going to pay? So they've created this market, and it's really good for the players.
Yep.
It's really good. I would love to see this. Well, it's really good for the agents, obviously, really good for the players, and I think for sports in general, having guaranteed contracts, there's obviously very debatable, but you can get injured very easily and like destroy your livelihood. I have a friend that was a 5-tool player. He was ranked in the top 10 in college when Barry Bonds was number one. Barry Bonds was the number one. He was in the top 10. And in college, 5-tool player, he was round in second, slide into third, caught his foot, shredded his knee, like completely shredded his knee. And he got drafted by the Brewers, but he never kind of made it because he was never the same. And you think about these athletes, they spend their entire lives from as a kid, all these practices, all this investment, to try to make it, and that's their livelihood.
Yep.
And in a second, their livelihood's gone. So
yeah.
I'm a fan of guaranteed contracts. I'm a fan of guaranteed money because of that injury risk. And I don't know that it happens as much in baseball as it does like hockey and football and some of the more like full contact sports, but I think it is a good thing in one sense. In the other sense, it's like, well, you gotta perform to get paid. And if you're 2 years in and your arm falls off, you shouldn't get paid for 6 years. But I don't know. I think it makes sense. It's kind of almost like an insurance policy, for the players, that they can make sure that they have that income coming in. We're talking about millions of dollars, so it's not like if they had a year they got injured, it would be a big deal.
Yep.
But I think the injury thing is a big factor because, and that friend that I talked to you about said he thinks some of the best athletes of all time no one's ever heard of because they got hurt before they made it famous.
Of course.
Which I think is a great quote. Like, I mean, you think Babe Ruth is one of the best athletes of all time, Joe Montana, all these people, his theory is they weren't. There's so many people that were way better that, and you can see a little glimmer with Bo Jackson, right? Like he was going to be and was like amazing, but he broke his hip and like, it kind of fell down from there. So, the injury thing is a real thing. And I think I'm okay. If I had to fall on one side or the other, I think I'm okay with the guaranteed contracts.
Yeah, I know, right? Right. And it's funny how the sport that basically has the shortest shelf life is the one that doesn't have the guaranteed contracts.
Which is unreal. Like that's
right?
the sport that should have it. Like that's
so
100%.
crazy. It's so crazy, and that's why with football, it's all about the guaranteed money. It's all about the guaranteed money.
Yeah.
So I got one more thing, and then we're gonna move on from baseball. So my team, the Orioles, the other day they were playing a game, and I think it was Mancini, who's now on the Astros, hit a deep fly ball, and the guy went back to catch it, and as the ball's coming down, he lost it in the sun. The ball hit off the side of his head and rolled to the corner.
Whoa.
And Trey Mancini rounded the bases, and they called that an inside the park home run.
Wow.
Is that really an inside the park home run?
It should have been an error, right? Like,
there's the sun got in his eye. I mean, the ball hit him on the
really
side.
Didn't have some nice shades like this on right now. I can look at the sun. I can see everything.
He obviously didn't. He obviously didn't. Your shades block out the sun.
Yeah, that again, like it's subjective, right? I mean, calling errors on players is very subjective, and to me, I guess they're thinking that was not in the person's control. The sun blinded him, and it really wasn't an error because he couldn't see. Like if I put a blindfold on you and told you to go out and field, and you didn't catch anything, it'd be like, okay, how can you say that's an error? Like I can't see. So it's definitely a judgment call, but I don't know. I feel like if it was that close to being caught, I don't think it should have been an inside the Parker.
Right. I mean that to me that's really strange. That's really strange. We get now that I'm
was it in Baltimore?
It was in Baltimore.
Well, that's why.
Yeah,
I'm not even kidding. Not even kidding. That's exact. If it was in the other team's stadium, it would have been an error.
Scorekeeper's like, that's a home run. That's a home run.
Like
that's a home run.
I want to be on the ESPN top 10. That's a home run.
We actually have some good debatable topics. I'm really excited. I want to move on to some clauses in contract. That seems to be the big thing. And there's two that I wanted to point out specifically. One is Zion Williamson, who got that monster contract, even though in 3 years he's played a full 82 games or whatever.
Yeah.
He supposedly has a weight clause in his contract where he's got to keep his weight under a certain amount. I think he's at like 390 right now. So, but the other one that I thought was really interesting, Kyler Murray signed a huge contract right the other day.
By the way, before you go on, I would love it if my employer would sign me to a weight clause, because I think that would motivate me to lose some weight.
Right?
If
That
I was going to get
motivates you.
fired, if I was over a certain level of weight, I'd be like, holy crap, I am definitely not going to eat or drink my beer. Again, and I like to connect the sports to real life. I would love to have that in my personal contract, because I battle that, and I would really take that seriously if it was in my contract. Anyway, keep
Yeah.
going.
And you know what? To be honest with you, I kind of hope that he doesn't maintain the weight and they cut him. That's my own personal opinion. I don't know if he can do it. We'll see. We'll see. The guy's as big as a
It's
house. He
huge.
loves
Yeah,
he
yeah,
loves Wendy's. I mean
yeah.
he's hanging out with Junior Bridgman and trying all 100 of his Wendy's. It's
Hey,
tough. So
Wendy's is delicious.
I can't argue with that. I can't argue with that. But Kyler Murray, he's another one, right? So his new contract, he's making $46.1 million a year. Now, I don't know if you knew this. In 2018, he was the ninth overall draft pick of the MLB draft, right?
Yeah.
So he was drafted by the A's, and then he chose to play football instead. So he's making 46 million a year. The payroll for the A's is 48 million a year. So something tells me he made the right choice. But the interesting thing is, it's a 5-year, $230 million contract, 160 guaranteed. He also he's got to have 4 hours of independent study per week monitored by iPad usage. Okay. So basically what these two contracts are telling me: one, Zion can't stop eating,
Yeah.
and two, Kyler Murray is just an idiot and doesn't study, between games, and so he's got to study. Now, the funny thing about that is, and I want your take on that, but the interesting thing about that is that was made public, and there was such backlash over that the Cardinals took it out of the contract. But the funny thing about that is, one, that should be something that's personal and that in private. But two, he's the one that signed it. You signed it. It had that clause in there. And then you're complaining about it. I mean, get it taken out first. I mean, what the hell?
Yeah.
So do you think clauses like that are a good idea for the sport?
Well, I think I think there were reports recently that the coaches didn't believe that Kyler Murray was watching film,
Yeah.
and so they sent him a bunch of blank videos, like that had nothing on them, and they asked him what he thought, and he said something about those blitz packages were pretty interesting. So they literally, again, I don't know if that's true or not. That was reported in the news recently. So based on that, I mean, it sounds like it's a legitimate concern. If they're not, watching. But again, I think it comes down to personal responsibility, right?
Yep.
Personal
Yep.
accountability, and you're paying this player because they're talented. If you're a good coach, a good leader, you're going to be able to get the best out of the player, and you're going to show that player why it makes sense to watch film and how they can get better and how they can leave a legacy and how they can be a Hall of Famer if they do that work and they put it in. So
That's true.
I think forcing it in a contract is it just doesn't feel right. Like, make sure your coaches are great leaders, and they have the player's best interest in mind, and they teach the player, because you got to remember, dude, these are kids.
Yeah.
These people are like the NFL players come in, they're 21, 22 years old. They don't know anything about life. They're kids, right? And they were worshipped in college. They barely had to study. They were like the main man on campus, and now they're in a hard spot, right? Because this is a very competitive league. So you need, as a coaching staff, to take them under your wing and teach them how to study, how to plan, how to prepare, how to focus, how to work. You have to teach them that, because not all of them have it naturally. So a lot of them have obviously amazing natural talent and God-given ability, but I think it's incumbent on the coaching and the leaders to really impart this and not rely on a contract to impart it. And where's that number? Like 4 hours? Like, why isn't it 5? Why isn't it 2? Why isn't it 12? It's
God
just,
only knows where they came up with it. I don't know.
like,
I don't know.
get freaking leaders. Get leaders to lead these young men and teach them how to work, and scrap it from the contract. I don't like it.
And I agree with that. But you know what, the problem that I have is and you referred to it as the Allen Iverson. Practice. We're talking about practice. Like,
right.
To be a quarterback. Listen, the average quarterback now is making over $30 million a year.
Right.
Okay, and I'm looking at that and I'm like, okay, well, what are your expectations for your quarterback? Well, obviously to be the team leader, but to be the guy that's in there studying
Right.
defenses, looking at film and everything. And if Kyler is not doing that stuff, he's never going to be what he could be. I mean, he's a great
Totally
quarterback,
agree.
but he's not an elite quarterback. And now he's getting paid. He's
Yeah.
one of the highest paid quarterbacks, and he's not one of the best quarterbacks in football.
I totally agree. What I'm saying is you don't enforce that through the contract, you enforce it through the coaching.
I
That's
I,
all
I
I'm
don't.
saying. Like I totally agree with what you're saying. I just think the contract is not going to like it'll do it, but it's artificial. Like it's a forced like you need to win the hearts and minds of your players
Yeah, yeah,
as a leader, as a coach, and the coaching staff needs to do that with Kyler, and
yeah,
infuse in him like, dude, you are an amazing athlete.
yeah.
You're not studying enough. Like, don't you want to leave a legacy? Don't you want to be a Hall of Famer? And if the answer is yes, then here's what you need to do. Look at Tom Brady. The guy is never satisfied with his performance. Like I remember he beats, I think it was the Falcons or somebody, 41-3. In the press conference, they're like, Tom, like, what'd you think of that blowout win? Blah blah. And he's like, we could do better. West didn't run his route right quite right, and they're like, dude, you won 41-3. What are you talking about? It's like, we can do better. We can do
Yeah,
better.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
that's the attitude you need. And it's not smug, it's not pompous, it's just an attitude of constant improvement, right?
You
And
always get
that's
better.
what these athletes that are successful have.
That's right.
Kyler doesn't seem like he has it. I think he's relying on his natural athletic ability and thinks he can figure it out because he's not watching these tapes. But he'll learn. He's a young guy. I mean, these guys they don't know anything about anything. They're 20 years old.
I know. I know. I know.
So these older coaches need to share the wisdom and take them under their wing and teach them what it takes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I just think the contract's just kind of a forced artificial way to do that.
I agree 100%. I
So,
definitely agree 100%.
yeah.
I want to talk about something that I think is really, really interesting, and that is, Deshaun Watson. They finally came down with the judgment as to what his suspension was going to look like, and I got to be honest with you. I'm trying to understand this, and maybe you can kind of help me see this from the right perspective, because I just can't. So you've got Stephen Ridley, right? His name is Stephen, right? The
Yeah.
receiver. Um,
Calvin Ridley.
he bet
Calvin
he
Ridley.
Yeah, Calvin Ridley. I'm sorry. Yeah,
Yeah,
you're right.
Calvin. Yeah.
He was suspended 17 games for gambling. He bet $1,500, and because of that, he's losing $11 million in salary. Then you got Josh Gordon, who I mean, he just keeps getting reinstated, but he's missed over 25 games because he likes to smoke weed. Then you've got Deshaun Watson, who allegedly sexually assaulted 30 women potentially, and he gets a 6-game suspension. Is it me, or does something just isn't right with this?
Yeah.
You
So
know,
the optics are really bad on this. Clearly,
they
we
definitely
have to
are.
talk. We have to talk about facts, right? So there were not 30. There were 24 outstanding sexual misconduct lawsuits. 20 of them were settled in June. 3 were settled Monday. There's one outstanding lawsuit left. So there's one lawsuit remaining. All the others were settled. And in terms of where did the 6-game suspension come from? It didn't come from the NFL or the NFLPA. It came from an independent former federal judge. Her name is Sue Robinson, who actually went through all of the facts of the case that she had available to her for over a month and looked at everything, in detail. And she's the one that issued that 6-week suspension. So this is another case of how the media paints things versus what's really happening. Now, let me be crystal clear. Deshaun Watson made very, very bad choices in what he did. To have 24 people bring sexual misconduct, cases against him, he clearly was not behaving properly. And if any of those misconduct cases were true, it's abysmal. Like it's just disgusting, and there's no place for it in humanity. Let's put it that way. However, again, 23 of these 24 cases are settled and done with no admission of guilt. They're just like, here's your check. You don't want to pursue this person to, and prosecute them. No, I don't. I just want the money. Okay, no problem. There's one left, right? So, and this federal judge, who is a retired federal judge, meaning that she has a lot of experience,
Yeah.
went through all this detail and came up with the 6 games. So it wasn't just Roger Goodell going, oh, 6 games, hey, so
Yeah.
We have to get into the detail. Like that is what's so important because the public knowledge of this and the public perception is steered by headlines. So again, I don't know Sue Robinson as a judge. She was a federal judge. She spent a lot of time on this and came over the 6 games. I don't know what she looked at. I don't know how it came about, but there's always information that we don't see in the public that is actually why things don't make sense to us. So, you know, it's hard to say one way or the other. Again, I think he made some really, really poor decisions. I think, doing what he did, clearly he did something. If 24 people are, looking for, to try him for sexual misconduct, and it was enough for him to settle versus fighting it, right? So he didn't try to fight it and prove that he was innocent. So there's something there. Where there's smoke, there's fire. But there wasn't enough for this federal judge that's retired to really come down harsher. So now the NFL and the NFLPA can still appeal this. They can go back and appeal the decision. It would be really silly for the NFL to do that because they actually jointly appointed this federal judge
Yeah.
to do
Yeah.
this, the
Yeah.
former
Yeah.
federal judge. So if they did that, it would be kind of absurd. Like you just picked this independent person and now you're going to appeal what they said. Doesn't
Yeah.
make any sense. So I think it's going to stick. I think it's going to be a six game suspension, and I think there's going to be outrage in the media
Yeah.
and the public
Right.
knowledge. I mean, there's a lot of public are going to be up in arms, but I honestly think that's because people don't read enough of the detail and try to process and think about it.
Well,
Um, so
here's something interesting, and I don't know if a
yeah,
lot of people know this, but the Texans also paid off all the women
yeah,
because they
yeah,
were, I guess they were involved too. I mean, so they
yeah,
had some sort of responsibility, so they had to pay. So God only knows how much these women got.
yeah.
Do I think that do I think that, listen, I mean, it's just one of those situations where, when you're talking about somebody that has a lot of money, they can pay to get off.
Yeah.
You can pay to go off. If this was Joe Schmo down the street that didn't have access to millions and millions of dollars, we'd be looking at something different. Now, something else that I think is interesting, you were talking about how there's going to be, there's a lot of outrage over this, and there is, and it bothers.
Yeah,
I mean, how could it not bother anybody? There has to be there's truth in there somewhere, like you said. There there
100%,
there
100%.
absolutely is truth. There was something going on there. We don't know exactly what's what, but
Well,
but
I lived in Cleveland, right? So I have a lot of friends in Cleveland.
yeah,
They
yeah.
are outraged that Deshaun Watson's a quarterback. They Cleveland
And
fans are outraged by
he
it,
got he
and
got a
I
ton
think
of
that's
money.
right. I think that's a right way to feel about it.
Listen, he got a ton of money. It's all guaranteed. And it just goes to show you that, if you are at the top of your profession, you can really do whatever you want. And not only that, if you look at the NFL, if I'm looking at it from an NFL perspective, I'm thinking, you know what? I really don't care what the backlash is because NFL is so friggin' popular. This isn't going to do anything to damage the NFL's credibility or
Mhm.
keep fans from watching games. And guess what? When Deshaun Watson comes in and he leads them to the playoffs and leads them to the Super Bowl, nobody will care.
It'll be in the rearview mirror, and
And that's
people will start digging deeper into, oh, this was settled. He wasn't found guilty.
see, and
These
that's
people
that's a
just know he's a
shame.
multimillionaire was trying to get money off him. Like nothing happened. Like people talk themselves into that. Somewhere in between is the reality. And me personally, if this is my team, I'm an Eagles fan. I would never want Deshaun Watson on my team
See,
because
I wouldn't
he
either.
doesn't have the character that you want. And maybe that's kind of like talking out of school based on what I say because I don't know Deshaun Watson and I can't really rely on these press. But to have 24 to 30 women come forward and say this person sexually, abused me or had misconduct against me, I mean that is despicable. That is disgusting.
It is, but
You're
didn't
putting
didn't
yourself in a position that you should never put yourself into.
that's exactly right. And
So
didn't you go through a similar thing as an Eagles fan though? Similar but different
with
with
who? Michael Vick?
Michael Vick.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, again, that mixed feelings about that, right? Like it's a cultural thing. It's just it's a horrific thing, dog fighting and things like that. But um, yeah, I mean, there was definitely something there. He was obviously an amazing talent, and the fan base felt similarly mixed on him, because he's so talented. People try to look the other way, but people like myself that are animal lovers and don't want to see that happen, kind of are disgusted by it. So yeah, I mean, it's hard. I mean, people want to win. They want to have their team do well. and they want their players to exceed. And when you see a player exceeding, the fan base, their tendency is to kind of look a little bit the other way. Of course, there's always a line, right? Once that line's crossed, then of course, yeah, get rid of them.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, I've heard people even say, and this is absurd, it was like, well, you eat meat, right? You kill a cow, you kill a chicken, like dog fighting, who cares? Like it's an animal. So which is absurd, right? It's
A
totally
little
stupid.
different. Yeah.
But you know, people try to justify things to make themselves feel good. So yeah, 100%. I mean, Michael Vick was a very similar type of situation in terms of
Yeah.
perceived
Yeah.
despicable behavior and allegations and things like that. So yeah, it's sports. It's a multi-million-dollar business, and ethics are everything. These owners need to be ethical, and they need to make sure that they're not selling out ethics for championships. And I think
Well,
sometimes they do.
yeah. I mean, one more question for you, because I feel like if you're a superstar, you're going to get away with things, and if you're not, you're not going to get away with things. Like, for example, like look at guys like Michael Irvin, right? You see him all over the place. Nobody ever talks about the fact that he was caught with a hooker the night before the Super Bowl, or that when he was pulled over by a cop, there was a crack pipe in his back seat. I mean, nobody ever talks about that kind of stuff. Or Ray Lewis, who's all over the place. Nobody talks about the fact that he was a suspect in a murder investigation. He had some kind of involvement. I don't know what that was, but he had some kind of involvement, things like that. But then you look at a guy like Ray Rice, who we've all seen that video of him just one punch and his
Horrible.
fiance just out. But I mean, is that any worse than all these other things that are going on? And he was completely ostracized. He was completely done with football because he was nearing the end of his career.
Yeah.
So to me, it's almost a double standard in a sense that, and I'm not going to say that one person doing something was worse than the other. I mean, I think all of these things are terrible.
Sure.
But did he,
Well,
because now if he was in the first couple of years, if he had just run for 1,500 yards, would he have gotten a second chance in the NFL?
yeah, I'm going to say absolutely not. When you talk about Michael Irvin, that to me is a totally different situation. That's a drug addiction, right? He's harming himself with a drug addiction. That's more of a medical kind of a thing. Like you could say, look at Chris Carter. He had a drug problem. I believe he did. Josh Gordon, he got 100 chances to come back in the NFL. One of the most talented wide receivers. He had alcohol and drug problems. So
Yeah.
a lot of these problems are addictions that are many, many times genetically based. And, again, some of it's life choice, right? So making bad life choices, but also you have a tendency to get addicted to things.
Yeah.
So I would take all of that and put that to the side, because that's not a character thing in my view. That's just an addiction, and I feel sad for that. But the Ray Lewis thing, I don't know that story, so I can't comment on it. But Ray Rice, I mean, the domestic abuse, I just think, first of all, disgusting. Like the video is evident, right? Like that is a
Oh, the
disgusting
video
behavior.
is
Like there's
terrible.
no,
Yeah, yeah.
you can't really excuse that. And I think, to your point, if he was running for 2,000 yards, because there's a video, the NFL, from a political standpoint, could not look the other way. There's no way they could look the other way. If it was an allegation and there wasn't video that everybody in the world saw, they would maybe be able to say, oh, well, it was an allegation, blah, blah, blah,
Yeah.
whatever. But this is a clear-cut video, a domestic violence situation. And, there's no, first of all, again, just to be really clear on these topics, there is no place for domestic violence anywhere at any time, right?
Of
So
course not. Of course
what
not.
we're talking about here is the politics around it, and how these owners and the NFL have to kind of do a little bit of a tap dance around it, because they want their product to still be really, taken in by the fans, but at the same time they need to make sure they're doing the right thing. So
Yep.
if I was an owner, I probably would fail, because it would be ethics all day long, and I'd be like, no, you're gone, so my team would collapse. But they're trying to balance the two, which I don't think they should, but that's just the reality. We're talking about reality. So the optics of that, they couldn't do anything but suspend him. They could not do any, like, he could have been Walter Payton or Emmett Smith at their peak, and he was gone. Like, there was nothing they could have done. I don't think it has anything to do with performance. It has to do with the video was there. Everyone saw it. Everyone was properly, like, totally disgusted by it. And you can't do anything but get them out.
Yeah, yeah. I can't argue with that. And I know there's been other situations with videos, but I can't really think about them right now.
Yeah.
I got a question for you. So for some odd reason, you've got all these other football leagues popping up, and none of them have ever been successful. I mean, I think the one that was the most successful was probably the USFL initially, when they actually had Steve Young
Herschel
and
Walker.
Herschel Walker and Reggie White. I mean, they had some huge names. Um, so, you know, they're running out the XFL again, right? And it's everything is like a gimmick. You got, oh well, this one's got this rule and this one's got this rule. Now, the only thing that's interesting, there's 8 XFL teams, and the interesting thing about this is that they've lined up some pretty serious coaches, and I was pretty amazed by that. Bob Stoops, Wade Phillips, Terrell Buckley, Rod Woodson, Heinz Ward, Jim Haslett. I mean, these are like
big names,
big names. So the question is, having big names, can it actually make the football good?
Well,
and is anybody gonna really care?
We know from Bill Belichick and Tom Brady that there are leaders that can take any talent, whether it's good or bad talent, and turn it into great talent, right? There's nobody better than Bill. As much as I hate the Patriots as an Eagles fan, I have to respect Bill Belichick and Tom Brady and the fact that they could take all of these cast-off players, turn them into superstars. Although when you look at the actual data, they actually didn't convert as many as you think. It's just that the ones that they did were in the press, and so their hit rate was not as high as you would think if you look at the data. Right. You look at how many players they took on and how many actually made it. But like Reggie Wayne is an example, amazing Colts wide receiver, went to Patriots and was terrible. So there's a whole bunch of those examples that nobody talks about. But anyway, let's put that to the side. You've got talent, you've got leaders that can bring the best out of mediocre to above average talent and make it great. I just think everyone is going to continue to see this as a gimmick, as a sideshow, as as just a fluky thing. And you're not running the XFL during the NFL, right? It's not going to run at the same time. It's going to be in a different season. Well, you know what humans care about? Tradition, right? Fall and winter is football. Come on, it is. Summer is baseball. It is. Like, no one wants to watch the XFL in the summer. It just feels weird. It just is bizarre. Like, what? I'm watching a professional football and I'm drinking a beer and I got palm trees behind me. Like, no, I'm not doing that. It just doesn't feel right. It's like just bizarro world. It's not happening. So until these leagues can run in the same, at the same time as the NFL and put as good of a product out there without it being bizarre, they're going to fold every time. And I actually have zero idea why they keep trying, because I feel like it's taking investor money and just flushing it down the drain.
Right. And the USFL initially they had it, but they just couldn't compete. And they had the star players. But the only way that they would even be able to potentially compete is if they actually were playing at the same time and they got players, they got actual great players.
Exactly. Yeah.
But the thing is, and you know what, one thing that's really different now is the NFL is not just a season-long sport. It's an entire year. There's always stuff going on. They talk about the NFL every day. I think on the NFL Network, they have a show every day talking about stuff in the NFL. So you're going to get your fix of NFL stuff every single day of the year. Yeah. Who's gonna sit there and say, wow, I need my fix of football? Oh yeah, the XFL is on. I think I'll watch that and see a bunch of guys that I have no idea who they are that aren't any good.
Wait, but you do remember He Hate Me, right?
Of course I do, man. He actually did he make the Panthers?
Yeah, he did.
He made the Panthers. Yeah, He Hate Me.
To this day, I know He Hate Me like I could rattle off He Hate Me like any conversation. I have no idea what his real name is. No idea.
Yeah.
None.
What was his name? Like,
he was fast though. I remember he was a kickoff return specialist in the XFL, and he was really fast.
I think his name was Rod something. I want to say like
that sounds right.
Not Rod Smart. Rod Smart. Oh my God, am I good? His name was Rod Smart.
It was actually Rod Smart. Wow.
His name was Rod Smart. Yeah.
No. His name is He Hate Me.
He hate me. Listen, he'll always be known as He Hate Me. You know what? I need to get that jersey and get it signed by Rod Smart. I want to see if I can track him down.
Listen, if I was an NFL voter voting for people in the Hall of Fame, I would put He Hate Me in, because subjectively I like that name.
Just because the name.
Just because of the name.
Amen. All right, I got a couple more things I want to talk about. One is basketball and lineage. I want to talk about that. So Shaquille O'Neal's son, he played in the summer league this year. He signed a 6-figure G League deal with the G League team Ignite, which is supposed to be like the guys that can be drafted that are like the G League superstars or whatever, right? So in the summer league, he averaged 4.7 points and 3.7 rebounds. I mean, phenomenal numbers, right? He played at UCLA and LSU, where in 37 games, he averaged an astounding 2.6 points and 3 rebounds. Okay. Is there any reason that this guy was signed besides the fact that he's Shaq's son?
No.
I mean, it was like, hey, Shaq, yeah, we love you. You're still doing stuff for us. You know what? We'll sign your son.
So you're the owner of this team, right? Your goal is to generate revenue. Literally, you're owning it. You own a business. You need revenue for your team. If your last name is O'Neal and you're related to Shaquille, I mean, yes, people are going to come out. They're going to pay money to come out and see that person play. And it's just facts of the matter. It's a revenue generating. By the way, Shaquille O'Neal is another one of those amazing. Like, he obviously was he made tons of money in the NBA. But you want to talk about an incredible entrepreneur? Shaquille O'Neal is an unbelievable entrepreneur. He has so many businesses that he's involved in, and he is an incredible entrepreneur. Like, he would be a great person to do a deep dive on with his business.
It'd be fantastic. You know what? Listen, he knows his strengths, he knows his shortcomings, he knows what he's great at, and he's just super marketable because he is just a big oaf. I mean, he is just a silly big guy.
Yeah, but that's his persona. But he's actually brilliant business-wise.
Listen,
there's a brilliant businessman too,
and it's right, and he's turned his fortune into a lot more, and he is gonna, and one of these days he'll be like LeBron, and he'll be like Tiger, and he'll be on the billionaire list. One of these days he will, sure, absolutely,
very soon, I think, very soon.
Right. But I do have an issue with that. Now, let's move on to the Greek Freak, your favorite guy that nobody knows how to pronounce his last name. You want to try?
Parthenon?
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
See him.
So he plays with his brother Thanasis. I don't even know. So he is Giannis, right? His brother is Thanos, we'll call him. Their other brother, Costas, played with the Mavs and the Lakers. So they are tied with the Berries for most brothers to play. Brent, John, and Drew played 33 years total. Wow. Including John Barry, who actually I didn't play against, but he was in my league for 2 games. But they have another brother named Alex, who was just signed to the Bucks G League.
Wait, Alex? Why doesn't it end with Alexis? Shouldn't it be Alexis?
Giannis, Thanasis, Costas, and Alex.
Come on. Add a US to that, please. We need to make this consistent.
These are my brothers. Juan, Julio, Eduardo, and Fred. Now it's like, it doesn't make any sense, right?
Yeah, which one of these is not like the other?
But this is another one, right? I mean, it's like, oh wow, the Greek Freak, the Parthenon, is so great. Let's sign his entire family.
The Parthenon. By the way, we need to refer to him as the Parthenon from now on.
Parthenon.
Yeah, he's the Parthenon.
I just think that would be unbelievable if you've got 4 brothers. And granted, listen, he's 7'3", and he's got, I guess his other brothers are 6'8", 6'9", and 6'10". So they're probably like, what the hell? Why did we get shafted?
Yeah. You know what though? In Major League Sports, it has to be the Alou brothers that had the most.
No, they have 3. They have 3.
Moises Alou, who are the 3? They had more than 3, didn't they?
No, Moises,
Felipe Alou,
and Felipe. No, Moises was one of their sons. It was
Julio, a father-son thing.
Julio, Felipe, and Jesus. Those were the 3.
Okay.
And you had.
I feel like there was more. I don't know why.
No, there was 3. Okay. There was 3 brothers, but but to have 4 brothers,
that's incredible.
That would be unbelievable. But the question is it because of their oldest brother, or is it because do you ever think that maybe the Bucks are signing these guys because they want to make sure that they keep the Parthenon in Milwaukee?
It's a really smart tactic.
I mean, it doesn't cost them much money to sign their brother to a G. I mean, it's what, $50,000 a year. It doesn't cost them a whole lot of money to do that.
I think it has everything to do with keeping the Parthenon together and selling tickets. Like, by the way, hey, I'm gonna make something up. XYZ professional team has 4 brothers that play on the same team together. Do you want to go see them? You want to go with me to see them? Do you?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's the, you don't even know who the team is or what the brothers are. You want to go see them. It's
You know
all
what?
about selling tickets, bro.
You know what would be great now. The thing is, Costas. I don't think he played. He's not in the NBA anymore. I think he's in Europe. But he played with the Mavs and the Lakers. I think he won a ring with the Lakers. Probably didn't play, but could you imagine like this is what I'm picturing, like from a marketing perspective, right? You got the Parthenon, right? You've got all of these. You name them each a building, and then when they're in there, you call them the Acropolis.
Oh, I love it. The Acropolis.
Yep.
Dude, we got the buildings popping up, the marketing, the heads on the buildings.
But the only problem is you need a fifth building. So that you can have, so like your starting 5 is the Acropolis.
Yeah.
The Milwaukee Bucks, aka Acropolis.
I love it, dude. You should be in marketing.
I'm just thinking, man. I'm just thinking. So
the fifth guy needs to be like a Muggsy Bogues type, like just some kind of short, doesn't even
I know, right? It'd be like
the Acropolis and Muggsy Bogues.
Like, could you imagine? Like you got 4 brothers, 6'8", 6'9", 6'10", and 7'3". And then you got the Danny DeVito of the family. He's like 4'11", you know. But you got to sign him too. You know, you got to keep.
Yeah, you got
to sign him, right?
That's hilarious.
That would be funny. That'd be funny. A couple quick hits. So, do you know who Jim Irsay is?
Yes.
The owner of the Colts, right? So,
yep.
He has got some interesting taste. He's one of those guys that knows that he's filthy rich, so he's going to go out and he's going to buy things for just ridiculous amounts of money. Like
that's what you do. Yep.
For example, he bought a used guitar from Pink Floyd's David Gilmour for $4 million. He bought Ringo Starr's drum kit for $2.2 million.
Jesus.
He's got a whole bunch of like founding father like actual documents. This guy is just a huge collector. He's like, I'm jealous. His recent purchase, and I think his most expensive purchase, he bought Muhammad Ali's WBC championship belt from 1974's Rumble in the Jungle.
No way.
For George Foreman.
Wow. For
$6 million. This guy must have his own museum in his house. All right. I want to, let me tell you something. If I'm a guy, like if I'm Bill Gates, instead of buying all this farmland, I'm just buying memorabilia, man. I'm just buying the most expensive stuff I can find. I'm making my own museum, or like buying an authentic Babe Ruth jersey and then wearing it outside,
Yeah. Why not? Of course.
But just unbelievable collection, man. I'd love to go online.
I didn't know all that. That's really cool.
Isn't that crazy? It's pretty crazy stuff. Pretty crazy stuff.
He didn't pull a Nicolas Cage and steal the Declaration of Independence, did he?
There you go, right? I wonder what the value of that thing would be.
You said he owns some kind of documents, right? Like, doesn't he?
Yeah. I gotta look it up. It just said that. I didn't.
Maybe Nicolas Cage was trying to steal the Declaration of Independence from Jim Irsay. Maybe that's what was happening.
That that could be it. That could be it. Speaking of that, they're actually making a television series based on that movie.
What, Independent, or whatever the movie was with Nicolas Cage trying to steal the Declaration of Independence?
Yeah.
Wow.
National Treasure. Wasn't that what it was called?
National Treasure, yes.
Yeah. They made 2 movies, and there's a series that's coming out. I want to say either this month or next month, I think.
Why is Nicolas Cage a popular actor?
He was in kind of like this demonic movie that I saw. I don't even know why I was watching it, where he was like a grifter, and he needed some money, so he was gonna in the off season he was going to clean up this amusement park, right? And all these kids broke in, and there's like these demons in these, I don't know, in the rides and everything. Do you know, I watched that movie. It was like one of the worst movies ever. Do you know he did not say one word in the entire movie?
Are you serious?
Not even one word. Yeah, I'll have to figure out what the name of that one was. But yeah, he just keeps doing, like, every time you turn on the TV, like, you'll see there's a new movie that Nicolas Cage is in. Or you'll see that who's the British actor that did Taken? What was his name?
Liam Neeson?
Liam Neeson. Yeah, he's in all of the, like, I turn on like one of the pay channels, like Netflix or whatever, and there's always a new Liam Neeson movie out, and it's always the exact same thing. This guy is upset. He's going after revenge on these people for doing this or doing that to him. It's like they're all the same movie.
Yeah.
So it's like these two guys, it's just like they just do this, they're just typecast. Nicolas Cage is just typecast as doing any movie. He'll do anything.
But going back to our theme of the show here, in terms of like Shaquille O'Neal's son is getting signed, and the Acropolis team is getting signed. Nicolas Cage, do you know who his uncle is?
Yeah, Coppola.
Francis Ford Coppola, famed director. And so he plays the same guy in every movie, by the way. There's there's not a lot of acting going on. Like it's just the same guy. Like, we need to steal the Declaration of Independence.
Now listen, he
terrible imitation, but you get it. It's the same guy every time.
He has been in some good movies. I'm not going to say that he's just all.
No, yeah.
Most of his movies are crap. But like Fast Times at Ridgemont High, he was in.
Wasn't he in Snakes on a Plane?
I think he was on Snakes. Probably.
No. It was Air. It was Air or something.
Oh, Con Air. Yeah.
Con Air.
That was classic.
One of the worst movies of all time.
Face Off was another one. He and John Travolta. What was the other one? Valley Girl. He was in.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God! Like Nicolas Cage gagged me with a spoon. Like, oh my God!
Still talking like this.
Yeah. He's always the same. He thinks he's a tough guy. And not only that, I think he's gotten too much work done on his face.
Oh yeah.
His face looks weird, and now his hairline.
You should Wikipedia him at some point, because he's got a lot of really interesting connections. I mean, he was married to Lisa Marie Presley, daughter of Elvis Presley at one point.
I remember that. That's right.
His actual parents, his dad was a professor of literature, and his mom was a dancer and a choreographer. So like, it's just super interesting background. His paternal grandparents were composer Carmine Coppola and actress Italia Penino. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I'll have to look it out.
Check him out. He's a super interesting background in terms of his family and
like a really
career. So anyway,
and I want to just throw out some congratulations before we part ways. Kirby Smart, congratulations on your 10-year, $112 million contract. Best job in the world, college football coach. I'm just saying.
Kirby.
Nick Cannon.
Kirby.
Kirby.
Parents named him Kirby.
Better than his parents naming him something else, right?
Okay. I didn't know if it was a nickname, but okay. Keep going.
I don't know. I really don't know. That's a great name. Congratulations to Nick Cannon on his 8th baby with 5 different women. Congratulations. He's got some kind of quote talking about spreading his seed and something about how this is what God intended us to do, and I'm just doing it. So he's going to end up with 40 kids by the time he's done.
Hey, Ben Franklin had 99 kids, just so you know.
Who?
Ben Franklin.
Did he?
You heard of him, right? Yeah, he had 99 kids. That was a thing back in the day, man. People had kids all over the place.
Wait, what is that song? 99 kids and bitch ain't one of them or something?
That's not the song, but yeah.
No? Okay.
99 problems.
All right. Well,
close enough.
Out there. I want to wish a happy birthday to Mick Jagger, who is still touring at age 79.
Well, you can stop me up. That's so bad.
I know how the guy. I don't know how he can still do it, but
dude, I love it, man. I hope I'm like that at that age.
I mean, first off, he weighs about 100 pounds wet. Okay, there's nothing.
That's my right leg. I mean,
Yeah. And then I wanted to end the note on end the show on a bad note, and that is Bill Russell passed away a couple of days ago at the age of 88. Arguably the winningest player coach ever in the history of sports, with 13 rings. Like, he had 10 on his fingers. Like, he had to pull up his foot to put the rest of 13 rings. So
yeah. Or something from Bill for sure.
Yeah, so he was one of the all-time greats, and and I know that he did a lot of great things for the sport. So congratulations on a great life. Congratulations on your contributions, and
full life.
Definitely be missed there, Mr. Bill Russell. That's all I got, my man.
Hey,
that's all I got.
Great talk, man. I appreciate it. I think I'm gonna go right over here and do a little surfing right over this way. I got my board.
Yeah.
Sun's still shining, coming down on me.
You know what I love.
Well, my beer's empty. I got to get my beer filled up.
Hey,
and in case anybody's curious, this beer was Swishy Pants. by the Dewey Brewing Company. Dewey Beer Company, Swishy Pants.
Oh my God,
I
they'll turn
highly
that
endorse
into.
it if you like that kind of thing.
Well, the nice thing about your background is, I mean, I can see that it's a little breezy, but because the trees are moving, which is nice. But the interesting thing is the water's not moving at all. I'm just curious about that.
Yeah, and there's a little bit of a Matrix type glitch that keeps happening every 10 seconds.
Is that what it is?
I don't know what that is, but
That's you're
all I
wearing
did was
your
run it directly this way with my board right after we're done.
See, you're wearing your Neo glasses. That's what that is.
Right, that's right. Neo.
Did that fourth movie ever come out?
Pick a pill, Darren. Pick a pill.
All right, my man. Well, great episode, and thanks for filling in. I enjoyed it, and thanks everybody for watching. Remember, if you like our episode, tell your friends. If you don't like our episode, tell your friends. Tell your family. Tell your neighbors. Tell people you work with. Any professional athletes that you know, tell them. Just wanted to let everybody know we had an interview the other day with former professional catcher Bob Kearney, who played parts of 8 seasons in the major leagues. It's really interesting to get his perspective from behind the plate, and I'm working on that right now, and that'll probably be out in the next few days. But that'll make just another one to our list. We've got a lot of a lot of past professional athletes that are going to be coming on the show. We're really, really excited to bring that to you, and we'll let everybody know when the next one comes out. But I enjoyed that one, and I'm sure that you all will too. So, Money Mark, have yourself a great day, my friend.
Money, money.
And, we'll look forward to seeing everybody next time on Phil on the Mic. Thanks for joining us.
Later, Big D. See you, everybody.
See ya.